All right, Emmet, thank you for giving time to me.
Sure. Hi,
And
Rajeev.
hi. And I'll just do a quick introduction for you, for the viewers and for the people in this part of the world. Uh, Emmett started his career with UBS, and then he moved on to Interactive Brokers. Uh, and 2020 was a defining year for the whole world for so many of us, and it was defining period for Emmett's portfolio as well. Emmett's portfolio grew from about 1 million US dollar to about north of 30 million US dollar plus, Emmett.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Significantly, it grew like 30 times or more. Yeah.
yeah, 30 times. I mean, kind of return which one would dream of. And Emmett left his day job, I think, in last year, in about October, November of 2020. Currently, Emmett is living in California. He just founded a hedge fund, lives with his three beautiful children, busy stashing away his multi-million dollars in different closets. And of course, going around in his couple of new Teslas. So, so, so thank you, Ahmed, once again for coming in on
Sure.
board. I
Yeah.
just want to start with, today you just wrote on Twitter about Elon Musk uh, going into buying into frenzy for Bitcoin. What's your view
hmm
on that?
Yeah. I'm just, I like Bitcoin. I like the cause of it. I've had some for a long time. Since 2011, I bought some Bitcoin and lost half of it on Mount Gox in 2013 when that went down. But the other half I still have in a safety deposit box tucked away in cold storage, at a bank and such. And so I don't, I still have it. It's not that, it's still a few percent of my overall net worth, and it's growing proportionally with Tesla, which is great, and, it's growing fast, and I like it. I still think there's a good case for Bitcoin as being like a digital gold, like in the virtual world, gold in the virtual world, and, but I'm just not sure how I feel about major companies storing some or all of their balance sheet into Bitcoin. I think about it a lot. I ponder this, and it's just like Elon Musk is like, at the forefront of being a leader of the 2020s decade and what major companies should do, and, if it's a hedge fund or financial firm and it's investing, a portion of its assets into Bitcoin, that's fine. It's like a whole new asset class, right? Like investing in gold. But, are these major companies, would they otherwise be putting some of their balance sheet into physical gold? No, I don't think so. So I just don't. I just feel funny about it. It's hard to put words to. Individuals, sure, yeah, put some of your savings in Bitcoin. Yeah, it's like gold instead of physical gold. It's virtual gold. Put a portion of your savings into it. I think, yeah, it's not a bad idea. And just so we know, none of this calls investment advice. I'm just speaking my mind. I'm not a
No, it's all
registered
right.
investment
Totally.
advisor, but this is just my own thoughts, and people have to make their own decisions. But for major companies to put their balance sheet into Bitcoin just doesn't seem right to me. Like, where do you draw the line, right? Once Tesla crosses the line a little bit, and where do you draw the line, right? Is it all or nothing, or is there a certain percentage that should be put in Bitcoin? Like, it just seems like it could go overboard pretty quickly, and I don't know. I just don't feel good about it, to be honest.
Oh, really? I thought because a couple of days ago he kind of put that in his tweet as well. I mean,
Yeah,
he
the
said,
Doggy coin and all that, and Bitcoin. Yeah, you put
yeah,
Bitcoin in the
yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
and I
I
think
thought he would
personally, like,
expect it.
yeah, like I think personally, if you wanted to, like, I know he has all his own personal wealth in Tesla stock and SpaceX or whatever. But personally, if he wanted to buy some Bitcoin or doggy coin or whatever, I think that'd be fine. But to put the company balance sheet, that's a different story to me. It just feels funny. Maybe I'll get over it. Maybe I'll think it through and be okay with it and more comfortable in time. But right now, I just hesitate about it. I'm not fully on one side or the other. I'm just hesitant. Some people are like super excited about this, and I just think, I'm not super excited, but I'm not like super disappointed. I'm just not sure. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I'm not I love Tesla, and as
Yeah.
I discussed, Ahmed, with you, my love is pretty. recent. It's about a year old. But you've been a Tesla bull for years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very surprising to me that somebody putting. I think the company is sitting on about cash flow about $2 billion.
I think they have like 19 billion in their balance sheet, but yeah, they're
Uh,
making like
Free
I think
cash
they
flow.
made 2 or 3 billion a year, or that's at the rate they're at or something. Like,
Yeah.
I forget exactly, but they've raised capital from going to the market. I mean, it's like, if you're going to raise money from the public markets just to put it in Bitcoin, that seems, I mean, that's not why they did it, but it can look like that almost, and I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel. If they're just doing it to, like, I saw some people saying, well, they're just doing it so they can accept payment in Bitcoin for Tesla cars. Okay, that's fine. But you don't need 1.5 billion, maybe like 100 million of Bitcoin or something. It's just, I don't know. It just
That's a bit too
seems,
extreme.
yeah, it's like it's like a big decision that they decided we need to put, 10% of our balance sheet into Bitcoin now instead of US dollars or other, they can put in a global basket of fiat currencies, not just US
Mm.
dollars if they're losing faith in, but that capital to me feels like it should be capital they should be thinking about putting to work, not capital they should be messing with for investing reasons so much,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
yeah.
speculation.
All right. I think we'll take some time to digest. I mean,
Yeah,
so
I think
does it
so.
affect your decision for holding Tesla? I think a lot of stuff you have in Tesla at the moment.
Not really. It doesn't change the core. It's a little bit of a chink in the armor to me right now.
Mm.
But it doesn't. The overall picture is still resoundingly like the biggest company in the world. No one's going to do everything the way I think they should, and I'm wrong sometimes. I don't know. I mean, how do you have you ever owned Bitcoin, or what do you think about the whole Bitcoin craze?
Look, I have owned some Bitcoin, and that again, it is a very recent phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's about 2 months ago. I kind of initiated a position in Bitcoin, and I have a small portion of it. And it's just to test the waters. I mean, I'm really, really not sure about the whole Bitcoin thing. I mean, I do get into the situation. I do buy this thing. I do understand the frustration with the existing monetary system.
Mm. There's a
But
lot of distrust with the existing monetary system, and there always has been, though. In history, there's always been distrust in the government-run system. I just feel like that type of thinking, that conspiracy type of thinking, is getting out of hand with the internet, and the government does things that warrant you to feel suspicious about how they handle it. But that's sort of what they've always done. The governments of the world, it's always there. It's always a risk, sort of, and now it's like people are just losing tolerance for that, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, because I think it's 2020, as we said, I saw the money supply going up by 26%. I heard Cathy Wood of ARK Investments, and we've been exchanging notes on Cathy Wood and his stuff,
Yeah, she's
her stuff
great.
as
Yeah.
well.
And they're an
Yeah.
investment management firm. So I understand them wanting to have a position in Bitcoin. That's what they do, but for companies to put their balance sheet into Bitcoin is another story to me.
It's a bit risky. I would say it's a bit risky, bit reckless.
Yeah,
Sorry, I mean, if I
on that, it's close to reckless. Yeah, I don't know if it's sort of like that way. Yeah, to me, it just, it's a speculative, it's a speculation. I don't know. It's not what their balance sheet is for, in my opinion. It's not like
yeah,
a stable asset.
yeah. It's like going a step further, in trying to prove a point. But
Yeah, yeah.
Elon is a different character, and you have
Yeah, he's
said that.
different. He does what he wants to do. Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
right almost every, who am I say he's wrong, right? But to me, it still doesn't feel, it just smells funny to me.
Okay, I think what will be good, Emmet, just to hear, this hugely successful journey from 1 million to 30 million plus. As we said that, how did it happen? I mean, how did you make it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've just picked a couple moves, right? For many years, I've been very highly convicted on Tesla, for example. And in 2013, or 14, when it had its first like short squeeze, my net worth went from or my savings accounts, went from like $20,000 to like over $1 million, in like a year, when that short squeeze happened in Tesla in 2014. And then over the following years, I kept thinking Tesla was going to keep going up, but the shorts got a hold of the narrative and cooled it off pretty quickly. And the market didn't really accept Tesla as like a dominant EV player. And, the stock kind of cooled off and stayed in the range of like a 30 to $50 billion market cap, so pre-split, it was like $150 to like $300 in that stock range before the split for like 5 years, from 2014 to 2019, And so I kept holding Tesla and buying more long-term options in it, because that's how I made a huge winning in 2014 in that first run up, when it went from like 3 billion market cap to 30 billion market cap, So the stock price went up 10x. But if you hold the stock, you might make 10 times. But if you buy call options, you can make maybe 100 times, So that's what I did then. But then I kept doing that. And so my portfolio went from like 2 million, my total saved 1.5 to 2 million, went down to like $500,000 total by 2019. So I lost the majority of the money I had made by 2019, but I was still very convicted in buying the long-term options and such. And then combine that with COVID, then it started paying off. And at the beginning of 2020, Tesla was rising to like $800 a share pre-split. I was like, wow. And my net worth had jumped to like a few million again. And I was like, wow, this is great. But then COVID was happening. And I thought, I was really paying attention to Twitter and COVID. And if you use Twitter the right way, you can have a huge information advantage in the world. And I tweeted that, and it's my pinned tweet, because I feel like it's the most useful thing people can do is use Twitter the right way. So I have a pinned tweet that just explains what I think is the right way for me to use it to get the most out of it in an efficient way. Yeah, take a look at it. It's just like a thread of like 5 suggestions, like don't let Twitter control the algorithm of how you see things, right? Control your timeline, see things in timeline order. And then you have to follow just enough people that you can get through it all in the day, and mute people, keep muting people that over time that tweet too much, that take up too much of your time, that's not useful. And then you unmute, you mute those people, but then you keep adding new people, new perspectives. And so it's a constant thing you're iterating to curate your own Twitter feed, sort of like you're programming your own mind, with Twitter. And if you do it the right way, I think it can be enormously useful. It has been for me, not just in finance, but in health, and other things I don't really talk about much, with the YouTube channels yet. But anyway, so in 2019, 2020, I was doing that, and I was learning about the coronavirus, COVID-19 in China, and how crazy it was. And this didn't seem to me like, from the citizen journalism on the ground there, it didn't seem like, a fake thing, it seemed like legitimate. And I was very nervous about it. And then I saw it spread to Italy, and the citizen journalism being reported on Twitter and people reporting about, and I was like, this is serious. Once it gets to the US, there's going to be a full on panic in the market, I bet, and the markets were at all-time highs, So I was buying index put options at the end of January and early February, and it turned out to be the right move because the market tanked. And I also had the premonition that was like, well, I think this is going to be I don't know how serious the coronavirus really is, but it's serious enough to panic everyone and panic me. And I was like buying gas masks at home and stuff. I was like a doomsday prepper for a little while, because I didn't know how bad it was, but I knew the whole market was going to tank, and like we were going to be at home for a while, and hopefully the world wasn't ending, but I'm going to protect my portfolio at the same time. So I was buying these index put options, holding on to my Tesla, because I didn't want to realize gains in taxes if it didn't blow over, but if it didn't tank. And so when the market crashed, I had this premonition, and I thought like, all right, the market will go down a lot. And then when there's the fear index is at the highest, when there's going to be like mass media reporting on like a major city in the US, whether it's like LA, Chicago, New York City, showing like hospitals of dead people. And so in New York City, when they were showing like how crazy it was with hospitals and the market was like at the lows, I closed my put calls for like a 25 times return, in 2 months or a month or whatever. And that was a nice trade, because it gave me the capital to then, I used that capital to buy a whole bunch of, I used the capital I got from selling the index, or from buying index puts. I had, suddenly I put in like 100 or 200,000, it turned into like 3 million or 2 million. And I used that money to buy like long-term options on Square and more long-term options on Tesla, and like all these stocks that were at like such lows that I felt like, all right, I think the market's going to recover. Instead of buying a stock, I like to buy options when I feel like it's relatively low. So I was buying long-term options on a lot of stuff that I've done very well. Peloton, so Square has been my best one, I think, and Tesla, obviously, in terms of best return, but there's a number of them that have done very well since then, obviously. And so, yeah, that's in a nutshell all I did. And then I still own Tesla, and I bought more. There's an S&P 500 announcement to add Tesla in November. That was my last big trade opportunity that I cashed in on pretty good. And yeah, but it's like I just look for the opportunities, and when I think there's a good risk reward, in my gut of some kind of trading opportunity, I'll take it.
It's amazing. I mean, it's majority of the wealth creation happened through Tesla, or was it Square
Yeah.
and Peloton also was
Oh
part of
no, definitely Tesla. Yeah, and the hedges Tesla's 95. I have three buckets of assets right now. I have a hedge fund, started as an incubator fund in beginning of 2020 with some of my own capital, but now I've taken on some investors starting February 1st. So now it's my capital and hedge fund investors. So that's not a huge amount, but then I have my personal account, which is the lion's share of my wealth, and that's like 90% Tesla stock at this point that I don't plan to sell anytime soon or ever, maybe. And then I have an IRA account that's gone up, a ton, and I've diversified that a little more. I have a little bit of a, indirect investment in SpaceX through a special purpose vehicle fund. And then I have, I set aside like a third of it to go to a more traditional quant-based value ETF strategy. So just in case, it's like the opposite end of the spectrum from my investing. So if my investing model breaks down and stops working and reverses course, I feel like I have a hedge with the opposite end of the spectrum that'll probably do well in that case.
Yeah. Nice. I think, it's not easy to be you. I mean, options, and it's not, it's a if you think from a retail investor perspective, it's not easy to sleep on these investments, isn't it?
No, yeah, you lose a lot of, like last year from January through, April, whenever the market bottom was, like I was losing sleep. Yeah. I mean, the market was tanking 5-8% in a day. Sometimes I remember like the NASDAQ, and like all of my Tesla holdings were going down like, 20, I was losing like 20 or 30% of my portfolio value in a day, but then the hedge would keep me, be up so much that it would like counteract it to be like flat. And I'd be like, oh, wow, I'm skating by the skin of my teeth here. Like, I hope this works out, and it was just like very nerve wracking. Like, when do I close this hedge, the puts, and, do I get it? It was like you said, like, it's very stressful sometimes when you have a lot of options, a lot riding on them. And it's fun to some extent, but it's also stressful, especially when it's like a negative event, like a coronavirus, crash, and you don't know how serious the actual, virus it even is. Like, am I going to get it and die? Like, what the heck? Like, are my kids ever going to go back to school? That's stressful too. But in terms of just investing, I kind of like the stress when it comes to just the investing part without the, the life health risk stuff, but I like the movement of the markets. I like I guess I like gambling, but I like gambling with an advantage. I feel like if I can have an information advantage, which I feel like I've had with Tesla, then it's a lot of fun to me.
Well, I think, look, the whole thing is so fascinating, and obviously there could be so many questions which can go for days, but what's this love for Tesla? I mean, what kept driving you? I mean, look, I kept thinking about it. Your success goes against the typical investing principles. Invest, compound, own the part of the business. You did that. You owned part of business. It was a bit different. I mean, it defies a lot of conventional wisdom.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I've lost a lot of trust in conventional wisdom over the years. It starts with health, and when I changed my health around, when I discovered like the ketogenic diet, for example, for healthy eating, and I realized, wait, like red meat is good for you. That's what I believe. I don't know. And I've experienced it myself, like the food pyramid is so upside down, like in the United States. Like, look at all the obesity epidemic going on in the United States. Like, none of this is working. Low fat diets, none of it's working. Like, it's backfiring, And so when I started realizing, waking up to like so much misunderstanding, so many lies, or not even intentional. It's just like so many assumptions were told over over and over again by authority that we just believe it, and Western medicine, even, they don't have any courses on nutrition, doctors, but they still like believe cholesterol is bad for you, and they don't look at other things. They say, okay, if your cholesterol, I had like when I went on the ketogenic diet at first, I remember my cholesterol went through the roof, my LDL and HDL, which is the good
Oh, God.
supposedly.
Okay.
And the doctor was like, oh, you have to go on statins, even though I was like as healthy as I'd ever been. Like I'd lost weight and I was like doing more pull-ups and push-ups than I've ever done in my life. I'm like, what are you crazy? I'm going to go on statins, or they're like, you have to change your diet and eat grains again, or go on statins. I'm like, this is crazy. And I like researched it harder, and I got a scan of my heart, like a CAC scan, they call it, and turned out that had 0 plaque in my heart, which is like as healthy as it could be. And the doctor called back. It's like, yeah, you have a 0 CAC. You don't have to, you can keep your diet and you don't have to do it. We'll do a scan again in 5 years or whatever. And it's just proof. Like, I'm just like the doctors, they're kind of brainwashed to think a certain way. And that's just like in all of society and investing too. Like people are brainwashed to think, even in politics, people are brainwashed to think a certain way. And I just started waking up to all these things, like assumptions that people operate on. And, I don't know if I'm like, everyone has their own version of what woke means, and I think a lot of people that are quote unquote woke, they're just listening to other people that claim they're woke or whatever, and it's okay. People can have their own opinions on things. That's fine. And I just form my own opinions on things and what I think is my own first principles type thinking, and I make decisions based on that, and it works out for me, and if it doesn't work out for me, I correct my assumptions, or I change I look at what assumptions I have that might be wrong, and I try to fix it. And it's like my own little scientific method of discovering reality and what things are like in the world and versus what people think they're like, so I just think differently about the world these days, and it's helped me tremendously. The next thing I want to do is like parenting. Like I want to figure out, I want to crack the code to be a better parent. That's hard, but that's something I need to work on.
Well, you have 3 children, right? I saw their pictures on Facebook. They're quite young, right?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. 8, 6, and 4. Yeah. They're boys, and they go to a school, I'm not like, the ultimate would be like homeschool your kids and kind of like, I think do stuff, but they go to a nice private school that does a good job. And, I have my day, I'm trying to stay focused, and my wife's got her focus, so we're in a Western culture, and we don't, we're surrounded by friends and we like it. And, but there's all kinds of weird assumptions built into our culture that I don't think are necessarily
Well, I
good.
think that's part of, I think, every culture, and it's,
Yeah.
as we discussed. I mean, it's I mean, it's a bit of a, it's good that thinking independently, and but you got returns for that. What I just want to know, what's this love affair with Tesla all about?
Yeah, Tesla. Oh man, yeah, Tesla. I first learned about in 2010. I saw it at a store, and I've always been a big fan of like the future. What's the next big thing? I always like to figure out what the next big technology event is, or I'm just super curious on that. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be the first kid to get the Reebok pumps at school, even though we couldn't afford it. I'd like, wish for it for Christmas, or be the first one to get this, video game system or something like that that's coming out, when I was a kid. And the iPhone, when I was one of the first ones to get the iPhone. I think I wasn't there on day one, but I got it like within a few weeks after it came out, the first version. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is the future. And I had that same feeling when I first saw the Tesla, the Model S prototype, at a department store in Connecticut. It was just like on tour. Like they weren't giving test drives, but they brought it there, and you could like touch the screen and play with the interface. And this car looked amazing, had all this 200 miles of range or whatever. I was like, wow, this is the future. I love this. I fell in love with the interface. I didn't even drive it. And I was like, wow, this is going to be the future. This is like a future car. It's a car from the future. I want, and I started researching. I was like, wow, they're a publicly traded company. And a friend of mine and I, we talked, he was like me with that. And we just talked each other up and started buying call options. And because I worked at Interactive Brokers, I had some knowledge of options trading, and you can do some real fancy things with options, but I try not to do anything too fancy. I just buy calls or buy puts or sell calls. I don't do any spreads or condors or anything fancy, but I just thought I could buy call options. And at the time, Tesla had like a 2 billion market cap. And I was like, man, if they build this car and sell it, they're going to be worth like 20 billion or more. They're going to be worth a lot more. So I'm going to buy call options and see if I can make a fortune in it. in 2000, took like 2 or 3 years from 2011 to 2014, I was buying like long-term call options, and the first ones expired worthless. And then the next ones, made a lot of money on them. So it worked out. And I've just been studying Tesla ever since. Like it was like a second job to me. Is just perusing the Tesla Motors Club forums at night, every night, and it's been a huge hot, like I really enjoyed researching it, and it wasn't like work for me. It was just like enjoyment, like trying to learn more about it. Do you have anything like that with investing? Is there any stocks or companies you feel like you've like been so curious about, you just really enjoy researching them?
Not that much. I mean, not that much.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated by the personalities. Like as I told you that, especially for Elon, for example, there is so much of a crap being spread in the media. And I think the people are looking at a lot of his negatives. He tweeted this, he did that, and that what he has done for the society is focus on creating a Tesla was largely ignored. So I'm a big fan of the personalities. And so, like for example, you got so much fascinated with the product. And
the product. And then I spawned my interest in Elon himself as the personality, and I thought he thinks differently about the world. Yeah, for sure.
For me, it starts the other way. I think I kind of fall in love with the personalities of the people. They're thinking there, and I'm not so much of a hard skill kind of person. I'm more on the softer side.
Okay.
And I heard you in the interviews that you're not such a good student, but you were interested in science or something. You're always a bit of a
I've always been interested in math and numbers and the financial world, especially, and physics, and science in general. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a weatherman at one point for a few years, meteorologist. My dad even got me some kind of special visit to the Weather Channel, like headquarters, and we saw how they did things. But then as I got a little older, like to be like 14 or 15, and I started realizing like I want to also make a lot of money, I realized a meteorologist, there's only so much money they can make, so it's like, maybe I want to find something else where I could have a higher ceiling, and so I was always interested in weather though, but I think the stock market just felt like a really big game, and I love games in general, and especially games that are hard and to master. Video games like those. Okay. I always like those long form video games, like the strategy games that can go on. You save your progress and you can keep doing it for like months. When I was a kid, there was this one company I really loved. I don't know if anyone here played video games, like when it's like in their early 40s like me and played video games. But there's this one company called KOEI. And they were a KOEI. I remember they made the best games that I really liked. It was like these weird strategy games of like, you were like a ruler of China or Japan, and you had to like take over, you had to own different provinces and like farm people. It was like the first experience of like an ecosystem game, and it was so fun for me. But that's sort of in a way, like the stock market is like a much bigger version of that in some ways. And so it's always fascinated me.
How do you see your investment philosophy? I mean, people believe in compounding. People believe in buying strong companies, holding them for decades, creating multi-baggers. How do you look at your philosophy? And
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and it changes over time. I try to adapt my investment philosophy to what's going on in the market, and I look for the best what I think is the best risk reward opportunities, and I assign my own little probabilities to things, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I don't put all my eggs in one basket, except for Tesla. I was doing that for a while. Not really. I mean, I had my own savings on the side that was work-based 401k and work-based stock plan. So I was going to be totally fine, even if Tesla went bankrupt for some reason. I was wrong on it. But my personal trading account that had grown from like 10,000 to like $1 million plus at one point, and then went back to 500,000. That was like a separate pool of money that I just traded as like a game within the stock market almost. And, I got to refine my investment philosophy with, and, it wasn't just Tesla. It was mostly Tesla, but I did some long-term Facebook options at one point when Facebook was like $30 or $40. I made like 50x on that bet, but I've also made some mistakes, and anyway, so that pool of money, the personal trading account and IRA account, which start out very small, I treated that as like the game to refine my investment philosophy with, and I wasn't afraid to make mistakes, but I looked for the best risk reward. And I just felt like the reward of Tesla was so huge versus the risk. I just wanted to keep most of my eggs of that account into Tesla for as long as I could. So I would hold a lot of stock. I'd buy long-term leaps or long-term equity options, basic call options in Tesla, and they would expire worthless. I'd lose money, but I wouldn't put all my money into, 1 year expiry. I'd save enough to buy more for the next 2 years out or the next 2 years out and so forth. And eventually it paid off in 2019. It was like this. So it worked out, right? And I don't think that's going to happen again to Tesla. Tesla's already 850 billion market cap. It's not going to go, it went from 50 billion market cap to 800 billion market cap in a year, basically, it's not, so it went up like 15 times or in like 18 months, so it's not going to go from 800 billion to 8 trillion in a year, maybe in 10 years, but that type of 10x stock movement, I know is not going to happen with Tesla, but I also know the most about Tesla and its competitive advantages, that I know it's like a long-term, in my mind, like more of a safer investment these days.
Okay.
And it'll appreciate, sort of like Apple was, 5 or 10 years ago, and it's priced as, expensive by some people right now, but they're going to grow into their valuation over the next few years, and they're going to continue rising. That's kind of what I believe with Tesla. And, the market's going up so much right now. As far as opportunities look, I don't see a huge opportunity in buying long-term call options like I used to, like a year ago. Okay. Yeah, a year ago, the market tanked, and it was, after it dropped 30 or 40% from the highs from the COVID crash, it seemed like long-term call options had a good risk reward ratio to me. And today the market's gone up to all new time highs, and the options are priced so expensively right now by the market makers, especially because they've been burned on it so much, the sellers of options have been, burned. They have to keep delta hedging, and so forth, that now they made the options pricings, more expensive. And so, if you find an outlier company that's going to go up 2x or 3x in a year for, you think for sure, then yeah, maybe the call options are a good bet. But, I think most companies are not going to double or triple in a year, at this point, maybe, but I don't have a strong enough conviction to put my money on that bet right now. Like, I think buying the stocks instead of call options on stocks is a better risk reward ratio to me for most of these growth and disruptive stocks that I like to focus on.
So that's what you're doing for a couple of years, not going for the leap calls and just looking
at the last few months, especially, my hedge fund is the account I kind of am actively working on my investment philosophy with, and actively managing more. And I have some call options and some stocks there, but I also mix it with a lot more equity I put into the stock itself, of some of these companies that I believe are going to go up, maybe that I think have a high chance of like doubling in a year, for example. Because some of these companies, even if they double in a year, if you buy the call options, it's so expensive that, like, unless it triples, then you're better off just buying the stock, because the call options are so expensive right now, and then if the stock doesn't double and goes down a little bit or stays flat, then you lose the entire premium of the call option, versus if you buy the stock, you still own, you didn't lose your equity, right? So, it's just, to me, it seems like the call options, just buying straight call options, is not as rewarding. It could be, but it doesn't seem like the opportunity is as high percentage as I thought before.
That's awesome to hear. And you saved me some money, because after hearing your story, I was thinking of exploring some leap calls.
Yeah, and, careful. I mean, it might work out. I'm not saying it won't. Don't make your own decision, but I just think, the market's at all-time highs, and these options are expensive now, historically speaking, from an implied volatility, costs point of view.
So I think I still have 10 more minutes with you. Is that okay?
Yeah. I got about 10 more minutes. Yeah, we can chat.
Yeah. So I think, as I said, Emmet, before the call, I reached out to some of my friends, and I think some questions. So I saw your interview with Dave Lee on, whether Tesla could be 10 times. I mean, is your conviction in Tesla still, intact?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's still intact. Yeah. I mean, the product, right? To me, the first principles thinking of Tesla is the product, right? Like, as long as the product is superior to everything else out there, then and they're producing at a scale like they are, they're executing on the production side, which they are, then it's a no-brainer to me, and my own investing decision is to keep holding Tesla. Because if I think in Singapore, there's maybe no capital gains tax or something.
No tax. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. My decision might be different if I was in Singapore, to be honest, like with a portion of my Tesla. But in the US, there's a big, penalty. 30% plus California, it's like altogether, it's like 40 or 50% I have to pay in taxes when I sell a Tesla, So that's a huge thing, And so the Tesla, I think, even if there was no gains tax, I'm not sure I'd sell much of it, or, maybe a tiny bit to speculate on some other stocks here and there. But, their product is so superior, and I don't see any competition, like there's so many, you have to watch out for the headlines, and, because they're going to always say like, oh, Apple's coming out with a car.
Yeah.
But that's been going on for 10 years with Tesla. There's always competition. There's always this Tesla killer right around the corner. And it's such a joke. Every time I see him, I kind of chuckle and laugh. I'm like, oh man, they're trying to fool everyone again. Yeah, because I remember in 2012, 2013, 14, like after the Model S came out, there was all these headlines like Ford's coming, Mercedes is coming out, Audi's coming out, the e-tron, and none of them work, like none of them do very well. Like they're not good. Like, Tesla's by far the superior product. It's like, the iPhone was superior to every other phone for so long,
and still is. Yeah.
And Tesla, it's an even more superior separation between Tesla and the next best EVs, in my opinion, than the iPhone versus the next best. So to me, Tesla is ahead of the curve, especially the battery production, the product is, as long as the product is the best. If I test drive another product, let's say Samsung comes out with an EV or something like that, and I drive it, I'm like, wow, this is amazing too. If I think it's amazing too, or the Peng I drive, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing, like a Tesla, and they're producing, ramping up, then maybe I think, okay, maybe I should trim some of my Tesla, but I would still hold a lot of it. But I think that's a long ways away.
So have you tried these? I know, you're based in the US, and this is, I think a lot of EV thing is coming in China. What's your view on that, like Xpeng, Niao? And there's a lot of noise around that.
Yeah, there is a lot of noise. It's hard to separate the signal from the noise on that, right? So I don't know China, the market, that well. I do follow those companies. I have for a long time to some degree, and just Xpeng, I like as a second. I think, there will be a second place in China. And government, I don't know how that works exactly, but the government helps these companies.
They sponsored Niao.
Niao,
and got their money there.
Xpeng, but I don't like Niao's battery swap. I think it sounds good, but in practice, it's not good. I think Elon was ahead of the curve on that, and they tried to do it Tesla many years ago. A lot of people don't I've been in Tesla for a long time, don't remember that, or don't know that. But Tesla tried to offer the battery swapping, and it looked good. They even demoed it, but and there was an Israeli company that was big and hyped at one point, 2015 or 16, I think, that was big on the battery swapping. And, it just doesn't work in reality very well. It's just much more logistically hard to facilitate, people think, oh, in theory, you can just pull up to a station in 5 minutes, in 2 minutes, but why not just pull up to a supercharger and get supercharged in 10 or 15 minutes? It's not that big of a difference, and it's a lot more logistically friendly, So I think the battery swapping is a fail for sure. And that's why I think Niao, depending how much eggs they have in that basket, I think a lot of the people are buying Niao because of that. And I think that's, going to fail that aspect of it. But Xpeng has, self-driving to some degree better. And they're already shipping to Norway, Xpeng, right? And so
I don't know that, but Xpeng, I'm hearing good things.
Yeah, I'm hearing good things, and I think they're growing, and maybe both of them become second place to Tesla in China. I don't know, but I personally, I don't know much about China, to be honest, but I don't I think Tesla will be the lead for years to come there, unless the government really decides to switch gears with their own domestic company.
Yeah, so I think I'm not sure whether Niao was almost bankrupt, and
I remember.
Government kind of stepped in and put their own money, so they have their own money now. It's possible that they'll do all their best to make it succeed, but I think.
Yeah, you're over in Singapore, so So over there, people are big, like in the Asia area, people are big on Niao and Peng pretty much. They talk about both
No,
of them.
I don't hear much of that, Amit.
Okay.
So I kind of heard that Tesla might be available in Singapore
Yeah,
in
that'd be
2020.
amazing.
So, but in Singapore, the cars are like, it's like buying a personal jet.
Okay. Yeah, it's expensive.
I
High
think
taxes, right?
yeah, there's a like so you don't pay taxes on your stocks gain, but you pay taxes on your cars.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, they make a lot on that, I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, so your the Tesla fleet you have in California probably would be slightly more difficult. So you're not particularly looking any EV player from the investment point of view at the moment.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'm not. No, no.
Okay, and this Apple thing, what do you make out of that?
I think that'll blow. I mean, they're gonna put a, they're gonna try maybe a little bit. They have I think they probably have some like stealth group working on it. Like they have probably already been doing that for a while. Like, maybe Tim Cook and the board of Apple have allotted like X million and like X dozen employees that they've hired to like, try to put together an Apple Card, see how feasible it is. I think they called it Project Titan at one point or something. And maybe they downsized it at one point and it's still going. But, I think there's probably a group of employees, engineers hired by Apple that are like in charge of trying to figure out a car, and they're probably doing their best job, and they're going to put some design forward, and then it's going to be up to Tim and the board of Apple whether or not to execute on it and pull the trigger. But then they have to find a production partner, and like, it's going to be 2025 or later until they even produce it. And if they decide to do it, Tesla's going to be so far ahead by then. It's going to, like, Tesla will have a bigger market cap than Apple by that point. Apple will be a second place maybe in the United States, and if they did move forward with it. But I think Tesla is getting ready to, like, really just be so dominant for years to come in EVs. Just no chance. Like autonomous driving, the robo taxi coming, and it's just going to be a whole new world, and Tesla's going to be like controlling it. Yeah.
I think this is a bit of a philosophical question. I mean, has the money made you happy? I mean, I thought about it like, done that, lived that. I mean, everybody wants, how's that worked out for you?
Yeah, that's tricky. Yeah, it's something. The money itself does not make me happy. What it does is it enables me to change my career path and however I want to change it. And instead of working for another company, I liked my job when I worked for Interactive Brokers. I did, and I great setup there, great work-life balance, and I enjoyed enabling new entrepreneurs to start investment advisor businesses or hedge fund businesses. It was like liberating other people. I was like, on the fan, like, here I am helping other people leave major financial firms, start their own business. And it was like, I really enjoyed helping other people do that, but I had done it for so long. I was ready for some kind of change. I think I'd been in that sales position for 10 years. And now that I have the money, I left that job and I'm starting my own, and I came up with my own vision of starting a hedge fund for giving back. And so my hedge fund, half the fees that it generates goes to charity. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that a new trend can start, it would be nice. Like, I even tweeted out to Kathy Wood and her team, like, hey, why don't you guys think about giving a portion of your fees to a charity, let's start a new trend, they're like the leaders in institutional, they're becoming quickly the leaders in institutional investment management. So they could really kick that trend off, if they did it. So I just hope that, in the next 5 or 10 years, there's a trend in ESG investing. I hope there's a new trend in giving back, because capitalism is going to be more and more under attack, I think. And you have so many people that are feeling left behind that aren't part of the investing world. As everyone like us are doing well with Tesla investments or Bitcoin investments or whatever, there's so many people that aren't in that world that are just getting more and more left behind, like the hardworking, middle class, and, people, that are in school still now that have yet to have a chance to invest. There's just young people, especially, that are starting to like gravitate towards socialism. And I don't think that model works, that economic
My
model,
daughter talks about socialism a lot, and it annoys the hell out of me.
People ignore history, there's never been a case of socialism where, look at Venezuela or Cuba, and it's just, I think there's a bridge to universal basic income, like if it's done well, if done right. But I fear that it'll be more of like a revolt against capitalism into socialism, like Bernie Sanders or some candidates like that will be elected along with, in Western societies, and it'll just be a little too drastic of a change that'll really be a big risk to how our economies operate.
Now, I think just last question. I really totally applaud your spirit to help the world, and I've been hearing your interviews, and I think it's really awesome, and it's really great that's how you're thinking. Now, I think next 10 years, what do you think? Like in 10 years, how the world looks like to you? I think from both evolution in the investment perspective, there's a Kathy Wood has a view, right? Invest the innovation and all that. Her funds, her trends talk about it, 5 trends. Now, what is your view on this, Emmet? From investment view, from the evolution. Yeah. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is so far, it's hard to predict. Like even 5 years, like the world is accelerating.
Let's a couple of years.
Yeah. Just it's I think, AI is such a general term now used for so many things, but like I think like GPT-3 by OpenAI, it'll be like GPT-4. And I think, these computers people will prefer talking and working with computers when possible versus humans. Like if I call up, like right now, when you call up, your brokerage firm, you maybe have to go through like an automated phone tree to get to someone, and you have to, or your insurance company or whoever it is you're calling up. And we hate it. We just want to go right to operator. I'm like, operator, get me to someone, I don't want to be stuck in. But I think in the future, you'll have like, for example, like some GPT-4 that's going to be even better. And you'll want to talk to that instead of a person, because it'll be so good at figuring out and working with you and getting to the crux of your issue, for example. So it'll be like a dream come true versus now when you call these automated phone trees, it's a nightmare, And so you'll see that not just in like calling for help or service, but I think like you'll just see that everywhere implemented, and we'll like have a more symbiotic relationship with computers and AI, like algorithms that we design based on algorithms we create, and it's going to be a crazy world. And like this Neuralink thing that Elon's working on is going to become like a big deal in like 5 years, even, like he's talking about putting in the first humans end of this year. It's like, whoa, like imagine 2 or 3 years, he's probably going to have it, and people like me will probably, early adopters can get it if they want, probably. And so in 5 years, it'll be like more mainstream, it could happen faster than we think, in 10 years, who knows what's going to happen? Like we'll be going to Mars, or, there'll be so many crazy things. It's going to be exciting, but it's going to be it makes me nervous too, because there's so many opportunities for like cataclysmic issues to happen, whether it's like the AI going berserk and causing issues for everyone or whatever it is. There's just going to be a lot of bumps. Maybe 2021 will be good, hopefully, but I think later on in the 2020s, there will be a lot of ups and downs from technology. More ups than downs, hopefully.
I think, 10 years along. I mean, who knew 2020 will come out to be like that? So be thinking about 10 years is a bit of wishful thinking, but as humans, we have this thing of thinking for the future.
Yeah.
But, okay. I think I'll let you go, and appreciate you giving me time, and hopefully remain and talk again. And
we'll talk again. Yeah, this is fun. I enjoyed it, Rajeev. Thanks for inviting me and asking me some good questions.
My pleasure. And thank you, and well done again, and and thanks for remaining grounded and so humble despite all the stellar success you've had.
Thanks. So, appreciate it. I'm trying to, we're all the same. I've just been fortunate to be put in the right positions to make good decisions on stuff. So
cheers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.